Hi, I'm Katie Crane, and this is the Pilates Lounge. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Pilates Lounge podcast. My name's Katie Crane, I'm the Pilates professional. Today I have a very special guest with us, Jenny Cheifetz from Gentle Coaching. Jenny is actually a breathwork coach and she lives in New Hampshire with her husband, 2 teenage children and 2 dogs. I love Jenny's bio. She says that she energizes busy, no bullshit women to take back their power, reignite their passions and step off the sidelines so they can feel calm, confident, free and excited about life. Jenny helps them learn strategies for managing stress and creating balance to avoid getting buried in work or family and actually have time for themselves. In addition to coaching and facilitating workshops, Jenny leads a community on Facebook and she is the host of the Sideline Sisters podcast that showcases stories of badass yet relatable women doing really cool stuff in the world. I've no doubt that our own listeners of Pilates professionals and movement lovers are all really going to benefit from a discussion about breath work because after all, one of the Pilates principles, of course, is breath. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jenny, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Yeah, great. So why don't we kick off by you really sharing your story? I mean, how did you get into breath work and where has it taken you?
Wow. Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. Very unexpected. I did not see this on my horizon at any point until it just, I followed the breadcrumbs is really how I see it. I had been for a very long time, very type A, analytical, structured, doing the things, checking the boxes, and just kind of falling victim to the path, just the routine. And I am one of those people who bless the pandemic because it forced me to be still, something that many in the spiritual world or maybe in the Pilates world are good with, but I hadn't been, because when you're still, you're not doing anything. You're not doing. And if you're not doing what? You're not productive, you're not useful, you're not worthy. So I was a doer up until I couldn't do anymore because I shut my business down. I had a food truck, a bakery, a mobile bakery. And interestingly, I had the intuition to close that before the pandemic. I just was, tired. My body was hurting from that. It was a lot of long nights, long days, standing, hunched over. And I stopped. I stopped that before the pandemic, right before. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, I saw an ad come across my Instagram feed, and it was like kismet because it said, work on your shit that my personal demons were written all over the screen, and join this program. And it was cheap and low commitment. And I said, I don't know. I don't think I can ignore this sign. And through that, I worked on myself in a way that I never had before. And that, like I mentioned, breadcrumbs, that coach that I was working with introduced me to someone else. And the person that she introduced me to was someone who had certification courses. And I said, maybe this is a sign that I'm supposed to get certified as a life coach. What? I'm used to making cupcakes, but sounded like a good idea. So I got certified as a life coach, and then that same person also certified in breathwork, which I'd never heard of, never done, but she had trickled that into our program. And I said, okay, it's interesting. I'm not sure I really get it, but it was a bit of FOMO and feeling like, well, this could benefit the people that I'm serving, even if I don't totally get it. But then, of course, like the more you serve others with your work, you're benefiting yourself. So I saw the value and I was like, this makes sense to me, and just kept going.
Ah, that's cool. So explain to me, what is a life coach? Like, how do you become a life coach? What does that look like?
So it was, so I was working with someone, which was a totally interesting experience, different from therapy, different from fitness, different from friendship. And it was this person who was supporting me, encouraging me, suggesting things, but in such a gentle, kind, generous way, and making me, I know this expression gets overused, but making me feel seen and honoring the garbage I was spewing out, but without judgment. And there were other people in the program that got it and were living it. And it was just so relatable. And so through that experience, I thought, I want to do this for other people. The way this person is making me feel and helping me, it's so motivating and loving. And so the course, it was a lengthy, it was almost a year learning. My program in particular was trauma informed, meaning there was an additional instructor that was a high level therapist and really knew that world, knew the therapy, knew the psychology and the emotional responses and all that sort of thing. So that if I were to work with someone who had the deep rooted, big T trauma, let's say, or the abuse and the PTSD or whatever other things might come up, we were trained to approach that. But really, it's just honoring people and being with them. And if they want help with something, yes, I can make suggestions or reframe, redirect, but it's really like being the passenger along with them to so that they're not walking alone.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So I guess you almost create an open space just for dialogue to happen, because I guess people don't have somebody to speak to, or these days you're not allowed to say anything in case you offend somebody. So now I've got to go pay somebody who I could maybe just offload. And because I'm paying you can't judge me for it.
Yeah. And having various tools like breathwork, meditation, visualization, there are other specific tools that I've learned that are helpful. So if you're facing, let's say, a relationship problem or a difficulty in your job or just a personal issue, like it seems like a popular one that comes up is just feeling small, not having a voice, not being appreciated, feeling like a doormat. There are actual tools, procedures to go through that build that and allow this other part of you to surface.
Mm-hmm. And then, so talk us through the breath work. Do you integrate that with the life coaching, and what does that look like?
Yes. In fact, a lot of people just prefer to breathe, because when you are doing breath work, you don't have to talk. And so that whole idea of talk therapy, even though I'm not a therapist, very clear about that, but the idea of talking through your problems can be intimidating to people, especially if there's a history of being judged or shamed for things they've said. With breath work, it is just that. It's breathing certain patterns, certain ways with intention. So you could have that intention of, let's say, I don't want to be a doormat in my crappy relationship anymore. Like, why am I getting repeatedly treated like crap? But we don't have to talk about it. We can breathe, and by staying in this breath pattern and you're breathing, I'm cueing, I'm saying mantras and supportive things, and there's music to go along with it, you interestingly find answers. You're staying in the breath pattern is moving energy in the body, moving stuckness, unclogging pipes, if you will. And so there comes a clarity. And it's fascinating. You know, there's often emotional purging. There could be tears. There could be kind of a rage response of, stomping feet or punching fists. Or there could be laughter. Or there could be just blissed out feeling. Or there could be sleep. All of these various physical responses, emotional responses. And then answers come. The body has so much wisdom that we ignore by being busy.
Just a quick little interruption to say a big thank you to listening to the Pilates Lounge podcast. This podcast is all about sharing our love of movement and Pilates with as many people as possible. So if you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to review us so that we can get the word out there. Also, if you haven't joined us on the Pilates Muse newsletter, it's a bi-weekly newsletter that shares a whole load of information with you. And we also have virtual online education programs. So if you're looking to get inspired and grow even more as a Pilates professional, check us out, www.thepilatesprofessional.com.au. Back to the show. In Pilates, you may or may not know, we are taught to do a very specific type of breathing. It's called lateral breathing. When we inhale through the nose, and the idea is that we expand the rib cage to allow for the diaphragm to fully go down, to allow for the lungs to fill up. And then as we exhale, it's like the rib cage opens and then the rib cage closes. So it's lateral side breathing. Right. And specifically, we learn it when we're new to Pilates because there is a belief or an understanding that helps activate or helps stimulate the core muscles, which include the diaphragm, pelvic floor. So is there a specific type of breathing that you are teaching, or my understanding that there are many different breaths? I practice breathwork myself, but you're the expert, so I'd love to hear from you. So could you explain some of the different types of breathing that you might teach somebody and why they are?
Yes, I don't identify with the word expert, but
more expert than me.
Okay, I'll go with it for right now. There are different patterns, and they can be associated with different intentions or different types of sessions. So if you were wanting to be, like you had said, activated, you want your energy to rise, you might be in a low kind of depressive state and you want to bring energy to your system, or just waking up in the morning and wanting to get energized for the day, there are patterns for that. There are patterns to bring yourself down. You're in a high anxiety state. You're spinning all over the place. There's patterns to come back down to earth, like literally obviously we're not flying, but to bring that energy to the ground. When we say we want to get grounded, that's challenging for a lot of people. What does that mean? How do we do that? It's a nice idea, but I'm not capable of that. Yes, you are. And your breath can help you with that. But we get caught up in our minds of, I want to calm myself down. I need to calm myself down. I'm flipping out. I need to calm down. How do I do that? Your mind can't do that for you. You have to feel into it. You have to allow the space, and you have to allow for that uncomfortable stillness, so that it's like I feel like there was a kid's toy I must have had many years ago where balls are flying up in the air and then you press a button or you unplug it and the balls fall. That's kind of like where our energy is. We're so used to spinning in swirling thoughts of the to-do list and the chaos. And when we intentionally breathe for calm, for wisdom, for clarity, relaxation, we it's like those balls are able to drop and just settle, and we get to be okay with it and just accept, and it's a lot of making room for possibility, making room for what can emerge when we don't clog it up with our shoulds and our rules and our structures.
So what does some of those breath techniques, what do they look like? Is it nasal breathing? Is it belly breathing? Box
Sure.
breathing? All of the above?
Yes. So nose breathing is very calming. We want to, we can take in a longer breath when we inhale through the nose versus that mouth breathing can be very stress inducing. That's a lot of the fight or flight situation we find ourselves in. It's that very necessary. I'm in this moment of panic, and that's it can lead to hyperventilation, and it's very chest up. And when we allow for that longer, like you said, the diaphragmatic breathing slows it down and allows that parasympathetic nervous system to start playing, and we can get into that rest and digest and freeing, liberating sense of I'm okay. I'm okay. What's real? What's not? What am I imagining? What's the story? What's the truth? So there are different patterns. I know you had asked that, and I keep swirling around it. Yes, we could just do it. Even Katie, intentionally inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Very simple. Think about how many times you've probably said to someone, a friend who's flipping out, calm down, take a breath. That's the breath we're talking about. Just slow down and just take a deep, mindful breath. And if we add in that sound, we don't have to. We could just blow out the breath quietly. But if we add in that sound, that's another level, another layer of intention and energy movement. So we're allowing ourselves to even deepen that practice. And then you really want to, throw all the spaghetti at the wall. You can start moving your body. So you get this trifecta of breath, sound, and movement. So you could imagine you're standing, and you could visualize yourself throwing something to the floor, almost like a medicine ball or something. And you use that breath with it and the sound, and you and kind of thrust your body. That can be, you do a couple rounds of that, just inhale, and then that big exhale with sound, with throwing your arms down, throwing your whole body down like you've just thrown the boulder to the ground. And you do that 3 or 5 times, you're ready to go take on the next challenge.
Yeah, there's definitely something that happens when we do breathe. I mean, even if you think about, if my husband says something that annoys me, then I heavy sigh.
Yeah.
Or it's natural, isn't it?
Yeah, your body knows, shit, I gotta calm down. Like, this was a lot for me. I don't want to flip out. I don't want to lose my mind in public or attack this person, but God, I'm angry. Mm-hmm. Your breath often knows. But again, we get ourselves so busy. I don't have time for that. I got to go on to the next thing. So we just keep moving and don't allow.
Well, and also is definitely, I feel in our society now, we're not allowed to express ourselves. We don't want to be perceived as somebody who can't handle what we're going through, or that we may be suffering, or that we may be feeling vulnerable. We're not allowed to. And maybe it's not that we're not allowed to, but we think that we're not allowed to let others know that. And so I feel like we are all walking around just holding. And then when we do the breath work, you can actually feel your parasympathetic nervous system start to regulate itself again. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I've been up here so wound up, and not even realize it because it becomes our normal until we experience the letdown. And then that's definitely such a big opening point, isn't it? To recognize, oh wow, we've all got work to do.
Yeah, I mean, I typically start every session with an opening song just to get centered, and that reminder at the beginning, and I do it again as much for the client as for myself. Relax your face, soften your brow, unclench your jaw, get your shoulders out of your ears. We're doing that all day long because it's the body clenching and holding tight and ignoring or not feeling safe to express or emote. And so we're so tight, we're wound so tightly, and we're just balls of stress. And in that session, when we start breathing, and you're safe to breathe here. You are safe to loosen your muscles and fall into the gravity of the ground. You're held physically by your floor, your bed, your cushion, your chair, and you're held by the energetic container we've created. Mm-hmm. So it's okay. And that's why it's so common to see people have a big emotional response to breath work, which again does not require us to break it down or debrief anything. It's your process in this safe container to do it.
And so what are some common responses that people experience when they start practicing breath work? And after those initial responses, do things start to change or shift, or what do you see when you work with people?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So there's physical responses, which, are common pretty much I don't want to say every time, but very common responses with physical would be temperature fluctuations, tingling throughout the body, numbness. But the emotional responses, I mean, if we were to look at an emotions wheel, any emotion that we're capable of feeling could come out in a session. It's so individual what you're holding within you that wants to kind of dissipate or break apart and just release. So and it also would depend on our intention. So you might just have the intention of feeling more relaxed. Maybe you want to feel more abundant. Maybe you want to feel more connected in your relationships. So I'm giving these cues so we have to have a little conversation just so I know what we're working on. But then I just cue intuitively, and you're breathing. So you're doing whatever breath pattern we've established, and it could be just that simple inhale, exhale, but continuous and purposeful. And your body is literally doing the work without you telling it what to do, because you're out of your mind, you're in your body. And so that whole drop in, drop down, you've done that. You've dropped down from your crazy, chaotic, busy brain, and your body is doing the work for you. So it is, while it's not a workout in the exercise sense, it's working. Your body is doing a job that you don't always let it do. And I remember this close friend of mine who was well into the woo before I was. I told her, I'm thinking about getting breathwork certified. And she said, oh my God, that stuff is crazy. It's incredible. I once went to a retreat, and my roommate woke up and did breathwork every day. And oh my God, she was dripping sweat by the time she was done. And it's like she had this experience, this wild experience. And my friend would just tell me she was lying in her bed watching it like it was, a circus act. But the body just does. And like I said, I'm prone to falling asleep. So I'm doing the breath work and then it just lulls me to sleep, but the body's still working. The body, we get these subconscious messages from the facilitator, and at the end, you do need to hydrate and nourish and take care of your body. You just went through something very powerful. And so you asked what kind of responses. I personally have experienced heightened clarity, creativity. So for people who think they're working really hard and working extended hours to be more productive, you're probably not more productive because you're so depleted. And then you go do a 10, 15, 20-minute breath session, and all of a sudden the ahas and the connections are forming because you gave yourself that opportunity to move the stress away, move the extra piles of crap out of the way. So I did one session once, and I went and took my dogs for a walk in the woods, and I felt like the trees were talking to me. I felt like the leaves were coming out to play. It was such bizarre, unique reaction that I hadn't had before, but it was something that it's like there was junk in front of my eyes before that moved away. My vision was heightened. Senses were heightened. But I've also personally been able to, that we talked about emoting, not feeling safe to emote. Breathwork has also given me the ability to shift. One of the benefits I'll tell people is it gives you a tool to change your state, shift your mood. So you could be, let's say you just got off the phone with someone who triggered you, a family member, a partner, a coworker or something, and you're like operating at a 12 and you want to be down at a 2 or a 4. A minute of breathing. While you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do anything special, you don't have to lie down, you don't have to get any equipment, but just stay where you are, soften your body, release the tension everywhere that you notice it, and you breathe with that intention of welcoming in peace, welcoming in joy, and just breathe. Close your eyes, don't be distracted by anything, and just allow yourself to have that experience, and you'd be surprised what a minute could do.
Yeah, I was once at a yoga retreat in Bali, and we practiced a lot of different breath work, and on the very last session, maybe it was 6 days, I forget, but on the very last session in the afternoon, we went through this whole sequence of breathing that I hadn't done, while being, kind of taught by somebody else to do it. And then afterwards, nobody was to speak, but you finished that breath session, and then you silently left that hut and were to walk along the beach to a restaurant where we were all meeting, and it was just a walk of reflection. And to what you say, I've walked along that beach so many times in my life because I spent a lot of time on that island in Bali, and I had never seen the ocean sparkle so much, and for the sky to have just this crispness. Everything that I looked at, it was unreal. I felt like my eyes had been lasered or something. Oh, it was it actually gives me goosebumps remembering the sensation. And it was not just were my eyes seeing everything with so much clarity, but I felt like I could feel, because we walked along the beach to the restaurant on our own, I felt like I could feel the emotions of the people that I was walking past. Couples on the beach sitting there. I couldn't hear their conversation, but we were all one. It was the most amazing experience of it. And I've done a lot of breath work, a lot of meditation, but I had never experienced that before. It blew my mind.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, my experience in the woods was one time. It's not anything I could expect to have again, or you can't plan that. But so the key is to go into a session agendaless, Not have any expectations for, I want this session to bring me answers to X, Y, and Z. No, you can't do that. But if you just allow and make space, you have no idea what could come from that. And it is profound. And I tell people the visions that you might have during a session shouldn't be ignored. Don't just bypass those after the session. Even people who aren't fans of journaling, I say, just jot it down. Just take a moment to jot down if you saw something, because it means something. There is wisdom that's emerging that we don't have to try to understand or make sense of, but it's just interesting to take note of it. So at a later point, when you're thinking, okay, I want to change jobs or I want to move. Oh my gosh, let me look in my journal. Wow, I had that vision of me on a mountaintop, or me by the ocean, or me in a castle, or, something. And it's, why did I see that? What was my body trying to tell me? Mm-hmm. And it's just fascinating.
So cool. And I guess if you think about what happens if we look at an animal, say, that is scared or has been injured, you will see the breath changes. It goes into this very hyper breath. Or if you watch a cat that's sitting there, they hardly look like they're breathing. There's so many different types of breath that must be part of our self-regulation. And I do wonder, if we weren't so surrounded by technology and always looking for answers from other sources, if this is possibly all stuff that intuitively our body knows what to do. And so, like you say, don't go into it with an agenda, be open to anything. I'm hearing that potentially what you end up doing is similar to the life coaching, is you become the platform for somebody to end up expressing and exploring what they need, so that then they can start to self-regulate anyway.
Yes. Yeah, that's well said. I mean, we just don't give ourselves permission, with anything. I mean, we all, that it's more supportive to exercise with some sort of instructor or accountability partner, however you'd like to view yourself. You're the coach, you're encouraging people to exercise because they're probably not going to do it as much on their own. That's why we love trainers. And in a lot of cases, whether it's exercise, having a financial planner, having a nutrition coach, it's encouraging to have someone witness and guide, even if they're not providing answers, they're providing space for us, because we often don't want our answers from someone else. We have the answers. So we've just become accustomed to outsourcing. I mean, look, that's why people post outfit of the day, in my opinion, to get validation. Should I wear this? Is this good? Should I wear it again? Should I chuck it? And, people post their pictures of food, and we're looking for approval and acceptance in every facet of our lives. And we don't realize we're giving that power away all the time. So when we can sit with our breath, it's a reclaiming of, I know this. I don't need to ask the world if I should quit my job, or if I should marry this guy, or if I should stop talking to my father, or I know what I should do. I just haven't allowed either the knowledge to coalesce or to emerge, because I'm just so used to polling everybody else, giving it away.
Mm-hmm. So what types of, who comes to you? Why would somebody choose breathwork?
Oof, that's a good question, because I don't know how, if I ever would have chosen it if it wasn't just, so that is the tricky thing, because it's foreign to a lot of people, to most people. So it's to encourage someone to try it if they've never tried it, why would I do that? I breathe all the time. I know how to breathe. If I do find mostly I'm working with women, I tend to market, let's say, content to midlife women, but people have come to me in their early 30s. I don't call that midlife. So it really doesn't matter what I'm putting out there. It's, I heard your interview with someone about niching. Just because you are targeting a certain demographic or cluster doesn't mean you won't serve the people who are approaching you. But it's what I have been trying to explain in my content is, if anyone could benefit from this, we're all walking around with junk. I mean, all of our experiences throughout our lives live within us, the memories, the trauma, if we don't process them. And most of us haven't processed because we haven't been allowed to emote. We weren't given permission to have a temper tantrum in public. That's naughty. Only toddlers do that. And we still chastise them for that. Temper tantrums are amazing. Raging is amazing. If you're in your house and you have a pillow and you can just thrash it against the bed and scream while you're doing it, that's therapeutic. People who choose to go for a run, that might be your way of exerting and expelling. We have to do something or it just stays and festers and grows. And, I've heard people, not many people, but I've heard here and there people say, I don't have any trauma. I don't have any of that in me. Okay, if you have woken up, opened your eyes, walked out the door, you've lived life, something uncomfortable, something shitty has happened that you're holding on to. Did someone break up with you? Did your boss criticize you for something you did? Were you, skipped over in gym class for something when you were a child? Were you bullied ever? And those are the little things. I mean, there could certainly be something, did your parents get divorced? Did you witness something, a crime? Did you witness some tragedy? Maybe your neighbor's house burned down. That's could be living within you if you don't do something with it. So my job is to remind people we don't have to carry all of that around with us. We have a choice. We have a method, and it's so easy. It's so easy. We've gotten used to being victims, being negative, being stressed, being overloaded, and we've somehow either normalize that's just part of life. That's just, that's life. You win some, you lose some. And we've also normalized being overworked, overscheduled, overstressed. And again, all of that is a choice. We don't have to be those people. And I keep adding more to this, these stories that we carry around from whenever. My favorite is the victim, because I was labeled a victim. You're playing the victim again. Oh, there you are, doing that victim thing. So we identify as that. Maybe it's the doer, the good girl, the reliable one. Maybe you're the comic. Maybe you're the life of the party. We take on these identities, these stories, and we create lived experience and future connections from that. And it's dangerous. If you're living life as the victim, now every interaction you step into, every relationship you step into is coming from victimhood. So you're setting yourself up to be hurt. You're setting yourself up to be unappreciated or taken advantage of, because that's just who I am. And now I'll have another story to tell afterwards, because that always happens to me. I always get treated like crap, and people always hurt me. But we can release those. We can let go of all of that stuff that we're carrying. And even if it is those witness things of, I saw these things happen, and I'm just so affected and I'm so sensitive because I saw all these bad things happen, and now my heart bleeds for everyone. It's another role we've taken on. We don't have to carry all that stuff. We have a choice. There's so much choice if we just move this stuck energy, just open up the garbage disposal and just get it out. Get it out. We can get it out. We have that power. And it's so liberating and empowering when you do it and you're like, oh my God, boy, was that heavy. I don't have to carry that. That's not mine. Who told me I was a victim? And why do I have to own that? I didn't choose that label. I didn't choose that role. Something happened sometime long ago, and I get to go off that path and create a new one.
Yeah, that's cool. What are some things personally that you've noticed in yourself? It sounds like breath work can really help us, and I agree. Everybody has trauma. It's almost a word salad word nowadays, isn't it? It's just thrown away around with everything. But I read a book by a physician, John Sarno, and he's passed away now, but his specialty was working with patients with chronic pain, and he used to be a surgeon, and then he realised that he kept performing surgeries on people, but then they'd come back with pain in a different part of his body than he was in their body, and he was realising that it wasn't necessarily that they needed surgery, it's that they needed to deal with the emotion of fear and specifically abandonment. And he talks about we first experience trauma in our life when our mother first puts us down, and whether we like it or not, that the baby does feel like they are being disconnected. They've been in the womb that whole time. That is our first experience of abandonment, and then that continues throughout our life. It is what it is. There's nothing, it's not that it's bad, but to recognize it is part of our healing and learning to then love ourselves, accept who we are, and be able to move on and heal from that. So it sounds like the breath work is similar to that type of thinking. So what are some things that you have recognized in your own practice? What are some positive results from your breath work?
Yeah. And I would add to his knowledge or, his assessment that, and this is not from me, this is what, people are saying, is maybe not that first moment of being put down, but even further back is that generational trauma that's in our DNA. So we're carrying the trauma of our grandmothers and their mothers and their mothers. And so, you think of someone who maybe experienced war, famine, eviction, being pulled out of their homes and sent away. That's all living within us. I mean, I've heard statistics of 14 generations past we carry. So I don't know, I can't cite the source, but I heard that. So personally, and let's be clear, as with exercise, as with anything, we're never done. There's no finish line, unless you're running a race maybe. But there's no done doing this work. There's always something to improve or reveal or build. So the things that I have noticed and continue to work on, I have an anger issue. And that's come up for me, and recognizing it, but I don't have to own this identity of I'm an angry person. I express anger sometimes at inopportune times and unkindly, and it's a reaction. So breathwork helps me slow down in a moment. I can slow down that reaction time, process a little bit. I can still get angry. It's not that I'm not allowing for that, but let me understand the root or the trigger. Something general here. I mean, helping me fall back asleep, go to sleep. I don't know. A lot of women my age wake up in the middle of the night, once or twice, 3 times, can't fall back asleep now. Why? Because we've got those spinning thoughts. Might as well just start planning out my next day and all the problems of the world that I need to solve. I can use breathwork to fall back asleep. It can help with digestion. It's helped me. Aches and pain. I don't know. I feel like a healthier person when I am moving this energy and not getting the stuck. It's like drain clogs. Like we're so clogged. And so I feel like, things are working better. Relationships. I have a massively improved relationship with one of my kids that was very antagonistic before breathwork. And again, that slowing down, that owning what's mine, what isn't, and I don't have to be a punching bag. 2, I don't have to digest or absorb whatever is being thrown at me. I can kind of put up a shield to it. That sounds a little too, military-like, but it's deflecting. Like, okay, I see what you're doing, and I appreciate that, but I don't have to take it on. So those are some of the profound responses for me that then I can go into relationships, owning who am I, who are you, the boundaries, what I'm going to allow into my system, where I'm going to draw lines. And then as things come up, as frustrations or questions or worries, I can breathe on that. I have a tool that lets me, if I'm experiencing imposter syndrome or doubts or, something related to my business that makes me feel, I can't do that. I'm not qualified, or maybe I shouldn't, like that. I'm not the right person. I can breathe on that. It gives me the clarity. It gives me that space to just release all the stories, all the additional judgment I've placed on something.
That's cool. Hey, Jen, have you got a minute to be able to maybe just take us through just a minute or so of what could we do so we're middle of the day and we do have a moment where we would be better off breathing than reacting? Could you talk us through one?
Absolutely. That's great. I love this because this is something I do all the time, and it's something I recommend to everyone because it's so easy to integrate. So whether you're in your car, about to, like, transitions are great if you're going from work to home or home into work, or you just ended a activating or frustrating meeting or phone call. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. And maybe even you could probably do this standing up, but I'm just thinking if you're sitting somewhere like in your car at your desk. And this is also great for going into an appointment that you might be not looking forward to. So you're just sitting in a chair waiting. Take that moment first to center yourself and give yourself grace for what you're coming into the moment with. So whatever stress or, just frustration you're bringing, irritability, just give yourself some grace for that and say, in this moment, I can release that. I can separate myself from that. I can come back to it later if I want. But so right now I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to soften my whole body. I'm going to, notice the brow, the jaw, just drop the shoulders, unclench the hands, and just be still for a moment. Take a couple of intentional, nourishing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. You choose the speed, choose the intensity, but you could decide whether you want to blow that breath out or sigh it out. If you have the ability to make noise wherever you are, that's a great addition to this practice is doing that 5, 10, 20 times, whatever your situation allows. And then after you do those cycles of breath, while you're doing that, trying to visualize the intention that you desire. So I want to feel peace. I am someone who is worthy of serenity. I see peace in my world. I embody calm and joy, connection. I am a person who is grateful for the blessings in my life. You breathe into that beauty, and then at the end, after you've done those cycles of breath, take a nice big inhale through the nose, the biggest breath possible. Let it all out gently, and then hold your breath at the bottom. After you release all that breath, pause. See if you can ground your feet into the floor beneath. Feel your bottom grounding down. And then when your body craves the breath, gently come back to your breath. But that final, and you can repeat that, the inhale, exhale fully, and then holding at the bottom. And that pause at the bottom while you're holding your breath and feeling into the ground is bringing the body, bringing the energy down from the spinning, anxiety-riddled chaos. We get to come back to earth. And I find that I do that multiple times a day. Any situation that is activating me in an unpleasant way. Like I said, you could do 5 cycles of breath, then that inhale, exhale, hold, making sure the body is loose, not tense while you're doing it, but just that. And feel yourself, visualize yourself coming down, being rooted. If it helps to visualize those roots coming out of you into the ground, connecting you with the earth. But it brings us out of the swirl and into our bodies, into the actual space, and not this imagined, perceived responsibility and stress.
Yeah, well, I practiced that breath just then when you were talking through it, and you really can feel yourself just get a little bit heavier, let go of tension that you don't realize is even there, and come back into yourself. I think you said at the start of the episode, we're so up all the time. It's crazy, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
we all need this breath work, my friends.
Yeah, we're like busy like literally like bumblebees, just buzzing around and flitting from, one task to the next. And this allows us to get conscious of what's real.
Yes, this has been such a wonderful discussion, Jen. I know that a lot of people, breath work, I'm sure it's similar where you are. Breath work has become more and more, I guess, popular, or people are becoming more aware of it. But I think that a lot of people are yet to explore it, to really understand the benefits. That it's not just some fancy new thing that's going to come and go. Breathwork has a long history. Breathwork is probably some of the oldest traditional cultural practices that a lot of people have been practicing for tens of thousands of years, and we are just discovering it.
Right.
So thank you so much for sharing this. It's really great. And to all of our listeners, you can find Jen at www.gentlecoaching.com. That's JENTLE coaching.com. All of Jen's information will, of course, be in our show notes. I feel like I need to go lie down after practicing that breath work with you.
Okay.
Thank you. But is there any particular framework or any particular course that you are running at the moment or that people might find on your website to give them a little bit more insight into what you do?
Oh, sure. But before that, I know a lot of your listeners are business owners or leaders, and that carries a lot of perceived stress, responsibility of, all of those heavy feelings of doing, needing to perform. And so doing this for yourself will help you show up more authentically, more clearly and true to yourself without all of that unnecessary, am I good enough? The worthiness wounds or limiting beliefs that we carry. So I feel for your listeners that those things that we carry, this helps us release. So gosh, I have a lot of things going on. I've got my podcast that you mentioned, Sideline Sisters, Instagram, Gentle Coaching with the J. There's always new information, new programs and things mentioned there. I have a Facebook page group, Sideline Sisters, and I show up and do free breath work there. So for people who want to try it out, either live with me or you can watch the recordings and see what a short session looks like. And let's see. And then I'm really babbling here, but on my website, Gentle Coaching, there is a page, the offers page, and there's a bunch of free workshops and recordings there. So you can experience it for yourself. And I am launching a new program in January. So for people who want a new vibe in 2025, it's all within your reach. It's all within your power. And it's not just breath work, but breath work will be a part of it because it's powerful. And we have so much power when we let go of the stories and roles and garbage that we've been assigned. So stay tuned, stay in touch. Yeah.
That's awesome, Jen. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to our listeners. I think this is a really nice topic. We're coming to the end of the season at the moment, and so maybe for all of you busy business owners, Pilates instructors, you movement bunnies that love to go, maybe now is the perfect time for you to practice some breath work. I know it's definitely something that I will be doing over my holiday period, so thank you, Jen, for leading the way with a practice that can benefit so many of us. Bye for now. My name's Katie Crane. I'm the Pilates professional. I'll see you next time.